Claire's heels clicked down the hallway just as my phone buzzed against the Formica countertop. I spun toward the screen, an unknown number flashing, and felt coffee's metallic bite still linger on my tongue. My thumb swiped to view a single grainy photograph of Claire, her back arched against the desk in Javier Cortez's salsa studio, his fingers tracing her lower back. The timestamp glowed, last night, 10:15 p.m. A low hum of traffic drifted through our park slope window. The world outside felt oblivious to the fracture in mine. I stared at the image, Claire's cheeks flushed, Javier's dark hair catching overhead lights, hinged on a betrayal I'd never foreseen. My hand tightened around the coffee mug until I tasted bitter tears. The brass mantel clock in the living room chimed 6, its pendulum swinging steadily, mocking my shock. I forced myself to breathe in the acrid coffee fumes, reminding myself I needed proof before confronting her. She signed up for salsa lessons to capture some fun, but this. My pulse thrummed as I recalled our last conversation. Don't stay too late, okay? I'd said before heading to a client meeting uptown. She'd flashed me that bright smile, lights dancing in her eyes, and tossed back, I'll be home by 9. Now her dance partner's apartment doorway framed her silhouette after 10, and my stomach clenched. The coffee mug rattled as I set it down, the warm liquid sloshing over the rim. I stumbled into the living room, eyes fixed on the brass clock whose second hand glowed under early morning light. Each tick in the silent room felt like a countdown to ruin. I swung open my laptop on the coffee table, the keyboard's cool plastic under my fingertips a sharp contrast to my burning chest. With trembling fingers, I saved the photo into a folder labeled Evidence, every keystroke forging the armor I'd need. My gaze fell on the framed wedding photo propped beside the clock, Claire and me beneath Central Park's cherry blossoms on May 12, 2019, her hand in mine, hope shining in our faces. I traced the glass's edge with a fingertip, wondering when that hope had cracked. The world of salsa and laughter that once seemed innocent had twisted into something dark. I opened our shared messaging app and hesitated over Javier's contact, J. Cortez. No recent texts appeared, Claire had muted him. I slid the phone into my pocket, heart hammering. I need every detail, every date, every receipt. Leaving the warmth of the living room, I stepped over Lily's scattered building blocks and entered my study, where our old mantel clock replica sat on the desk, its pendulum ticking a resolute beat. The morning light filtered through Venetian blinds, falling on a leather-bound journal. I pulled it toward me and wrote. April 20th, discovered Claire with Javier, 10:15 p.m. Capture more evidence before speaking. Protect Lily's world. The journal's paper felt cool beneath my pen, each word a vow of methodical purpose. As the clock's pendulum swung on, I realized the steps ahead would be deliberate, grounded in reason rather than recklessness. In that steady tick, I found my resolve. I would not collapse into despair. Instead, I would gather every piece of proof, secure our daughter's safety, and reclaim our life, one measured beat at a time. The brass mantel clock's pendulum ticked steadily as I sank onto our living room couch, its warm glow a stark contrast to the chill of betrayal settling in my chest. I closed my eyes and let my mind travel back to the day Claire and I first moved into our Park Slope brownstone, June 15, 2018. The sun streamed through the tall windows as we unpacked boxes of photographs and kitchenware. I remember Claire humming as she placed vases of tulips on the windowsill, the tulips' petals seeming to dance in the breeze. We assembled Lily's crib together, Claire trusting me to hammer in the slats, and installed a small brass mantel clock in her nursery, its pendulum swinging like a lullaby for our infant daughter. In those early months, every Saturday was a ritual, pancake breakfasts at the Owl Bar, our daughter cooing in her high chair as Claire fed her blueberries. The mantel clock in our living room chimed 6 as I carried Lily upstairs for her afternoon nap while Claire prepared Sunday dinner, a comforting rhythm we never doubted. Our first date was a late summer evening at Localize Pizza on August 10, 2017. We didn't have reservations but lucked into the last table. I remember Claire's eyes lighting up as she bit into her first slice of mozzarella, grease glinting on her chin, and I laughed as she wiped it away. Afterward, we strolled under the Brooklyn Bridge lights, talking about our dreams, travel, children, building a home filled with laughter. When Lily arrived on January 2, 2020, everything shifted. I'll never forget the moment I first held her at Lutheran Medical Center, her tiny fist wrapping around my finger, her breath warm against my palm. Claire's tears of joy blurred my vision as I kissed her forehead. We returned home to renew our rhythms, morning coffee, chauffeuring Lily to early daycare, and Claire's midday texts about her work deadlines. In the evenings, we'd dance in the living room to bachata or merengue, Claire guiding my awkward steps as Lily laughed from her playpen. The mantel clock's tick-tock marked every heartbeat of our new family life. Then, in September 2020, Claire discovered salsa lessons at Rio Rhythms, and it seemed to infuse her with energy. She came home from the first class glowing, her cheeks flushed. "You have to see this place, Mark. Javier's incredible," she said, setting her bag by the door. I smiled, imagining her twirling under studio lights. I brushed aside a tiny quiver of unease as pride. Seeing her happy felt like a gift. The lessons continued weekly. After her second session, I found a Lyft receipt for September 23, 10:45 p.m., saying Rio Rhythms Dance Studio. I remembered Lily's bedtime at 8 and asked in passing, "Feeling late tonight?" Claire laughed it off. "We had a showcase rehearsal. You know how dedicated Javier is." I nodded, trusting her words as water slides off a leaf. By November 5, 2020, subtle cracks began to appear. Claire brought home a costume-fitting receipt, $85 at Dance Elegance on October 31. She claimed it was for the studio's upcoming showcase. Yet, that same night, I found her humming a tune as she placed the colorful sash into her closet. Why hum a dance tune after midnight? I asked myself, pinning a receipt to a folder labeled Miscellaneous. The mantel clock in the hallway ticked on as though winking at my doubt. Late November grew colder, and I noticed Claire returning from lessons at 11:15 p.m., the barest hint of salsa music slipping from her headphones. One morning at 3:02 a.m., I woke to hear her quiet sobs from the hallway. I tiptoed toward her bedroom door but stopped when Claire opened it, eyes red, lip quivering. I had a panic attack after the rehearsal," she said, voice forced calm. I believed her and brought her water, comforted her until she slept. The mantel clock chimed 4 as I stared at the door, unwilling to pry further. On January 15, 2021, I discovered Javier's business card slipped between the couch cushions, Javier Cortez Rio Rhythms Private Lessons. I asked about it, and Claire's cheeks pinked. She explained he'd given it to her for extra practice. Her explanation felt rehearsed. I pressed her, and she kissed Lily's forehead apologetically. "I love our family, Mark," she said, returning the card to the box with a sigh. Still, the next month, on February 20, 2021, I found a dancewear boutique, charge, $120, on our joint credit card, dated February 18. When I questioned her, Claire said, "It was for Lily's costume. I want her to join our showcase." I dismissed my gut's unease because I loved Lily's excitement. The mantel clock's pendulum ticked, lulling me back to comfort. But then on April 10, 2021, a whispered conversation in our own living room sealed my doubt. I heard Claire murmuring, "You make me feel alive," and a man's voice, soft, whispering, "Tonight, I'll teach you more than steps." I froze, heart hammering. I followed the voices into the hallway, but Claire slipped inside her bedroom, shutting the door. I knocked, but she wouldn't answer. I sat on the floor, the mantel clocks ticking the only company to my mounting dread. Now, as I sit here with Lily napping in the adjacent room, the brass mantel clock's pendulum continues its unrelenting swing. I sift through the folder marked Miscellaneous, the receipts, the Lyft charges, the dance assignments. Each page reveals a half-truth, the midnight rehearsals, the private sessions. The montage of laughter and gentle steps that once felt innocent now hints at something darker. I run a hand over the clock's brass face. Its rhythmic tick-tock speaks of moments once shared, spinning across a wooden dance floor under the glow of studio lights, and those now tarnished. Yet as its pendulum swings, I find my resolve strengthening. I can no longer ignore these signs. Betrayal may have crept quietly into our home, but I will meet it with determination. Each swing of the clock's pendulum reminds me, I will piece together every clue, protect Lily, and reclaim our life, step by deliberate step. The brass mantel clock's pendulum ticked steadily as I sat at the kitchen table, the morning light glinting off its polished face. Across from me lay my leather-bound journal, open to a fresh page. The pages already held Lily's recent entries, nights spent screaming, each date and time painstakingly noted. Now, I needed to transform outrage into action. I slid a hand over the journal's cover and dialed my brother, Marco. He answered within moments, his voice warm but concerned. "David. Everything okay?" I pressed my teeth together. I need you here, Marco. Tonight. I'm on the next train. I hung up and called Marisol Torres, our family counselor. Marisol, can we meet at Commons Cafe in Union Square at 10 a.m.? It's urgent. I'll be there. Step 1, gather allies. April 22, 2025, 10 a.m. Commons Cafe's muted chatter and espresso steam provided a strangely soothing backdrop. Marisol slid into the booth, offering a gentle nod. Let's see what you have, she said. I placed my phone on the table, screen facing Marisol, the April 17 screenshot of Claire's text to Javier, I need to feel alive again. Beside it lay the April 12 Salumeria receipt and the April 18 Lyft charge to Rio Rhythms, at 10:45 p.m. Marisol studied each item with professional calm. These details are critical, David. We need to document how Lily's world is affected. Have you logged every time she wakes calling for you or Claire? I nodded, pulling my journal forward. April 19 to 11:15 p.m., Lily woke screaming, Mama. Daddy. Held her until midnight. I flipped to another page. April 21 to 2:05 a.m., night terrors, she whispered, dance, and Javier before crying out. Marisol's eyes softened. We'll convert these into a formal affidavit. The court must see how deeply this betrayal has penetrated Lily's security. I tapped the journal's binding. I've been saving anything that shows Claire's absences and Lily's responses. It's all here. Marisol smiled. You're doing the right thing. I'll write a summary of Lily's emotional distress and send it to your attorney. Step 2, document Lily's well-being. April 22, 2025, 2 p.m. I arrived at Brennan and Park Legal on East 23rd Street. Attorney Priya Singh's nameplate glinted in the afternoon sun. Her office smelled of leather-bound volumes and polished wood. I stepped inside, clutching a stack of printed binders. David, pleased to see you, Priya greeted, extending her hand. She gestured toward the binders labeled texts and emails, receipts and bank records, security footage, and child welfare. I laid them out on her desk. I need to file for separation and secure custody for Lily. Here's everything, screenshots of Claire's messages with Javier, bank statements, receipts for dancewear purchases, and logs of Lily's behavioral changes. Priya leafed through the first binder. This text from April 17 is very clear. We'll include it as Exhibit A. The receipts and bank records will be Exhibit B. She flipped to the security footage binder. You installed cameras in the hallway. I nodded, offering her a thumb drive labeled 4ACAM, April 10 to 18. Priya inserted it into her laptop and paused on a still, Claire's silhouette entering Javier's studio at 10:45 p.m., April 12, followed by an image of her exiting at 1:05 a.m. She clicked through, then looked up. This is excellent. We'll file for legal separation on May 1 at 9 a.m. and request temporary primary custody. We'll argue Lily's well-being depends on stability and your full-time care. I exhaled, feeling a weight lift. Priya continued, we'll request supervised visitation for Claire, Wednesdays 5 to 7 p.m. and Sundays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., at a neutral location. Also, child support, $1,300 per month to cover Lily's private kindergarten, pediatric visits, and a therapy fund. My pen hovered over a legal pad as Priya outlined the custody proposal sections. 1. Primary residential custody, Lily resides with David. 2. Visitation, supervised visits, conditions listed above. 3. Child support, $1,300 per month from Claire's dance instructor wages and savings. 4. Therapy, weekly sessions with Marisol, funded by the support fund. I wrote each point carefully, the brass mantel clock's imagery from home echoing in my mind. Structure. Clarity. Resolve. Priya glanced at her watch. I'll finalize the petition tonight. Be prepared to testify. The documents speak for themselves, but be ready. I nodded, shaking her hand. Thank you. I'll gather any final affidavits. Step 3, secure legal counsel and craft custody plan. April 23, 2025, 9 a.m. At home, Marco and I turned the study into a command center. We laid binders on the desk under the soft glow of a desk lamp. He brought out a small notary stamp we'd inherited from our mother. "Let's notarize each affidavit," he said, flipping to the child welfare binder. "We want no challenge to authenticity." We worked systematically, stamping the cover page of each binder section, texts and emails, receipts and bank records, security footage, child welfare. Each notary seal brought a sense of finality. I opened the security footage binder to a spreadsheet listing dates and times. Marco connected the SD card to the laptop, labeled the stills, Exhibit C, and Exhibit D, and printed high-resolution copies. He clipped them into the binder's transparent sleeves, adding red tabs. "And these will be Exhibit C and D, next to the receipts as Exhibit B," he said, arranging labels. The meticulous organization felt almost therapeutic, turning chaos into clarity. Step 4. Notarize and categorize evidence. April 24, 2025, 8 p.m. Marisol joined me on a video call. I shared Lily's latest entries. April 24, 9:30 p.m., Lily asked, "Mommy dance with Daddy now?" Cried when told, "Mommy's busy." April 24, 11 p.m., night terrors, mumbling, blue dress, Javier, then sobbing. I held her until calm. Marisol nodded, typing notes. This aligns with her regression. I'll finalize my affidavit and send it to Priya. Her reassurance steeled me. April 25, 2025, 7:30 p.m. That evening, I tucked Lily into bed, reading her favorite story, Good Night, Moon, as the brass mantel clock's image lingered in my mind. Lily's sleepy smiles felt like small triumphs. When she drifted off, I returned to my study, pulling up Priya's draft petition on the laptop. I refined the custody proposal, ensuring each clause prioritized Lily's well-being, stable home, supervised visits, uninterrupted routine. I added, Lily's kindergarten tuition and therapy fund to be established immediately upon filing. Then I saved a final copy to a folder labeled, Court Filing, May 1st. As midnight approached, I closed my journal and ran a hand over the desk's surface. The mantel clock's pendulum in my memory ticked on, each swing a heartbeat reminding me of purpose. Though the path ahead would be arduous, every documented entry, every notarized affidavit, and every council meeting had forged a clear path forward. Tomorrow, I reclaim our life, one deliberate step at a time. On May 1, 2025, I arrived at Priya Singh's Cobble Hill office, the brass mantel clock ticking softly behind her desk. My evidence binders, Exhibit A through Exhibit D, sat in a neat stack at my side. Across from me, Claire's shoulders were rigid, her eyes red-rimmed. She avoided the clock's reflection in the glass. I took a breath, laying a thick manila folder labeled, Evidence, Separation Petition, between us. "Claire," I began, voice calm, "before anything else, I need you to see this." I opened to the first page, a screenshot of her April 17 text to Javier. "I need to feel alive again." Beneath it, his reply, "Tonight at my place, can't wait." Claire's lips parted, but no words followed. I turned the page to two still photos from April 12 security footage, Claire's silhouette entering Javier's studio at 10:45 p.m., and another showing her leaning into his arms at 1:05 a.m. Her face drained of color. Priya interjected, "We also have a Salomiria dinner receipt, $112 on April 13, and a lift charge for Javier's studio on April 18 at 10:45 p.m. She slid the receipts into view. Those costs were billed as post-lesson meals and costume fittings. The dates line up with footage. Claire's shoulders slumped. She averted my gaze. I picked up a framed wedding photo, I held it carefully, and turned it face down. It was our May 12, 2019 ceremony in Central Park. She flinched as I placed it onto the desk. I reached into the manila folder and extracted a small brass key, the spare key taped under our coffee table with Javier's apt, written in Claire's handwriting. I set it beside the closed wedding photo. "This key opened our home," I said, voice steady but low. "You used it to slip away while Lily slept." Claire's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, "I never meant for it to go this far." I remained seated, arms crossed. "Trust isn't a promise to be broken. You turned our trust into your means of escape." My tone carried neither anger nor malice, only quiet resolve. Priya closed the evidence folder. Given these facts, we will file the separation petition and request temporary custody. Lily will remain with David, and Claire's visits will be supervised. Child support terms, $1, $300 per month, are ready to submit. Claire's lip quivered. She whispered again, "I'm sorry." I stood, buttoning my jacket. My voice was soft, "Goodbye, Claire." I paused, looking at her one last time before turning. Stepping into the bright spring afternoon, I felt a weight lift, as though each tick of the brass mantle clock in my mind confirmed that this confrontation closed a painful chapter. Betrayal had fractured my family, but by meeting it with calm, methodical resolve, I had taken control of our future. As I walked down Montague Street, I felt a renewed sense of purpose, to rebuild our daughter's world, one deliberate step at a time. 2 weeks later, May 15, 2025, I sat in Brooklyn Family Court as Judge Alvarez signed the final divorce decree. Claire relinquished our Park Slope brownstone and agreed to supervised visits for Lily, 5, contingent on completing counseling and securing stable housing. I received primary residential custody. A support order required Claire's monthly payment of $1,300, covering Lily's private kindergarten tuition at Little Sparks Academy, pediatric visits at Brooklyn Children's Clinic, and a $500 therapy fund. Each clause felt like a new plank in the foundation I was rebuilding for my daughter. That evening, I returned home and gathered Claire's salsa shoes and dancewear, placing them in a donation box at the door. I hung a new framed photograph above the mantel, Lily's first dance recital at the Brooklyn Academy on May 10, 2025, her face alight in a frilly pink costume. The brass mantel clock now stood beside it, its pendulum ticking a steady promise of routine and continuity. Over the next 2 weeks, late May 2025, I established a nurturing schedule for Lily. Mornings began with scrambled eggs and story time, followed by the quick rush to drop her at Little Sparks by 8 a.m. On weekdays, I returned to work at my architectural firm, confident that Lily was safe and thriving. Afternoons meant playground visits at Prospect Park, Lily's laughter echoing as she chased bubbles. Evenings were reserved for bedtime rituals, warm baths, reading Good Night Moon, and holding the brass clock against her chest until her eyelids closed. Each ritual reconstructed a safe, predictable world for her. I also reconnected with my own passions. On May 20th, I returned to my grandfather's woodworking tools in the garage. I sanded a walnut block into a small jewelry box for Lily's costume jewelry, each rasp of the sandpaper echoing the clock's pendulum swing, a comforting reminder that creation can follow destruction. Sunday mornings, Daniel and I resumed our hikes in the Hudson Highlands, swapping stories beneath emerging green leaves. Marisol continued Lily's counseling sessions, guiding her through play therapy. Lily's night terrors faded, she began drawing suns and hearts instead of scribbling jagged lines. Her smile returned, she delighted in chasing ducks at Brooklyn Bridge Park and devouring frozen yogurt from Big Gay Ice Cream on May 28th. Each bright laugh felt like evidence of healing. On May 30, 2025, after tucking Lily into bed, I opened my laptop and drafted my first blog post for From Betrayal to Balance. I wrote about confronting deception with calm resolve, preserving evidence, and prioritizing a child's stability. By midnight, I clicked publish and watched supportive messages flood in. Your story gave me strength, thank you for showing how to rebuild. I outlined future posts, co-parenting with compassion, finding strength in solitude, and mentoring others through heartbreak. On May 31, 2025, Lily and I picnicked at Brooklyn Bridge Park. She skipped among daisies clutching her stuffed owl, while I watched Manhattan's skyline glow at dusk. I checked the brass mantel clock, it's ticking a promise that every moment counts. In Lily's joyous laughter, I found renewed purpose. Trust may shatter, but resilience can build a brighter tomorrow.